Well, here we are again, or well, I guess for the first time this way, I suppose. Um, I'm I don't really know why I'm making these or what I'm gonna be doing with them. I guess it's just a way to kind of get thoughts out of my head, and maybe someday help a person or two. I mean, you got to be pretty desperate to listen to some random guy on the internet sitting in a VR chat world, but I'm sure we've all been that desperate before. I don't know, it's been a rough one. I'm sure it's been a rough one for a lot of people with all this stuff going on in the real world and probably stuff in your personal life and my personal life. But we're all still here, aren't we? Surprisingly for some, probably a lot of us. Hell, I'm only 20 and I'd never think I'd make it this far. So, I know I'm not the only person who's, you know, now you're an adult and no idea what to do. Yeah. I never even thought you'd make it this far, but you did, and I did too, and at least for that, I'm proud of you. Because, to do a quote, at the end of everything, hold on to anything. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard exactly where that quote comes from. Night in the Woods, go play the game, it's great. Um, but I guess I want to talk about it a bit because it's a quote that I think is a lot more important than a lot of people realize. This saying, a lot of us, we end up feeling kind of, we get to these points where we're at the end of everything and we feel like there's nothing to hold on to. This anything doesn't exist. And I guess that's just something I want to say for whoever's listening. Maybe if it's just me or maybe some random person stumbles across this. There's always something. Even if you don't know it, there's something. It's hard today. It was hard yesterday. It'll probably be hard tomorrow. But I'd say that keeping going that way where it's probably going to be hard the next day, but maybe someday it won't be. Might as well stay around till hopefully you can get to that day. Because for me, I have people who love me. I am very lucky to say I have a family who's not horrible to me, who isn't abusive, nothing like that. I have a partner who we're actually approaching our 1 year, which is nice. That's the longest relationship I've ever been in. I know, sad, right? But she's very nice and I love her. And I couldn't see it any other way. I have friends, more friends online than in real life, but I'm sure I'm not the only one nowadays like that. And yet I still find myself having days, nights, weeks like this where I'm just sitting here and nothing feels right. Nothing feels complete. And I suppose nothing's ever supposed to feel complete because you get to the point where everything's complete and then got nothing else to do. Then what's the point? But I'm sure a lot of us, a lot of people, both my generation, maybe a bit younger than me, maybe, and definitely older, have that feeling of like, you're in your 20s, or if you're not, you're in your teens, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, so on and so forth, and you just kind of feel like you're just sitting here, you're not doing anything. And that's definitely where I am right now. I have stuff I want to do, and it just, it feels impossible. It feels like anything that I try just kind of falls through. And I definitely attribute that in part to my, ADHD and my really bad executive function. I think that's the word. Well, words, for any of you who don't know what executive function is, it is basically the term for someone's ability to self-discipline. Basically, to kind of make an example, it's like if you want to get up in the morning and you want to make yourself muffins or something for breakfast, and you manage to get up out of bed, and then just, instead of making muffins, even though you told yourself and you've been telling yourself for multiple days you were going to do it, you just don't. You just go in the pantry, you grab some cereal, and just have breakfast. That's how it is. Executive function, especially when you have executive dysfunction like I do, trying to start things and trying to do things is almost like an insurpassable mountain. And because of that, along with, my admittedly not very great social skills and tendency to, keep to myself, less so online, but still, I find myself kind of just here a lot. And I don't mean here physically in this little world. I just mean in this state. And I'm sure I'm not the only one of, like, you're just sitting around and you're doing nothing. You got nothing to do. Or, well, no, I should put it this way. You have a bunch of stuff you can do, but you just don't do it. And for those of you who don't have that problem, one, I'm surprised you found yourself here, but two, good job. And I'll admit, I'm jealous. And I wish I knew how to overcome it. I wish I had an answer for both myself and for anybody who ends up watching this, but I really don't, sadly. Best I can really think of is kind of what led me here is just keep thinking about it and don't ever stop thinking about it, and maybe one day you'll force yourself to do it. That's where I am right now. I've been wanting to make a little, I guess, audio journal, maybe. Something to just put my thoughts out there. And I've been thinking about making a YouTube channel, not for really any particular huge reason. I don't really think I'm ever gonna end up like some sort of big content creator or whatever. Because I have a few talents, I would say, I guess. But and it comes to when it comes to acting, voice acting, writing, that kind of stuff, I'm actually pretty good at that, and I'm happy that I have at least some things I'm good at. But I'm not really good at anything else, and it kind of leaves me just sitting here feeling like the bottom of the barrel, just feeling worthless. Maybe I am, but maybe I'm not. And I know I got off topic, but the reason I'm bringing this up is I wanted to make a YouTube channel because I wanted to kind of, I guess, force myself to do something other than just sitting around playing video games or writing stuff for nobody to read other than myself. But yeah, I guess that's where we are now. Let's see. I don't know. I think it's just something to, I guess, just be conscious of. The fact that even though I'm sure a lot of us end up in this kind of situation of just being unsure what to do and just kind of feeling stuck in an endless loop, maybe that's not how it always has to be. Maybe someday it'll be better. Maybe someday we'll amount to something. And I say that like you haven't already amounted to anything, which I can guarantee you, anybody watching this, you have, even if you don't realize it. And there's people out there, maybe people you don't talk to, or maybe people you do, who no matter what you tell yourself and you say that they don't care about me, they don't love me, so on and so forth, they do. I know very, very few people who are not people who care. Because, again, even though I have not actually played Night in the Woods myself, I've heard a lot about it, and I've listened to and read a lot about it. And the writers of that game I really like their writing. It's very nice. And they have another quote that I really like. It goes along the lines of, I believe in a universe that doesn't care and people that do. And I would honestly very much agree with that quote. In the greater aspect of things, the world is uncaring, and it sucks. And the world is a hateful place, which also sucks. But on this world, there are people. And not all people suck. I'm sure a lot of them do. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels like that. But, there's a lot of people that don't. And if you found yourself surrounded with people, I hope none of them suck. And if you're in a position I found myself in too many times where you have nobody, then, well, one, I guess I should say, I'm sure that's not actually true. That's what I learned as well, is you never have no one. And two, I think when you're in that kind of situation, it really sucks. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I guess I'm struggling to find my words here, because it's one of those feelings that I'm sure if anybody is watching this, you're probably familiar with, and you probably know what I'm talking about. But at least for me, it's really difficult to describe. But it's kind of like it's an isolating feeling, obviously. But it just feels like the end of your world. Like, this is all it'll ever be. This is all it's going to amount to. And I guess if I'm going to leave you with anything coming from this little rant, just if you put it on in the background to do something else, or if for some ungodly reason you have listened to the whole thing, I'll leave you with this. No matter how bad it is, and I know you've heard this 1,000 times, I've heard it 1,000 times, no matter how bad it is, it doesn't stay that way forever. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, everybody said that, it doesn't actually mean anything. Well, I found myself being told that more times than I can count. And at the time, I never believed it. I never believed it. But here I am. And even though I'm not feeling great right now, which is probably why I'm making this, I'm better than I was. That's for sure. So, I guess all I'm trying to say is, I know it hurts. I know it sucks. I know everything sucks. But everything sucks isn't actually true, because I'm sure there's at least one thing, hopefully two, hopefully many more, but at the very least, there's just one thing out there that doesn't. And even if it's something really small, even if it's nothing crazy, hang on to it. Hang on to it. Thanks for watching.